There comes a time in every man's life when silence screams louder than words. That moment when you realize she's no longer arguing, no longer pleading, no longer waiting at the door, is the moment you've lost something that was once priceless. Because she didn't stop loving you overnight. No, my friend. She loved you until it hurt her. You see, the world often applauds strength, independence, and power, but overlooks the quiet endurance of a woman who chooses to love through pain. Her love was never loud. It didn't need to be. It was in the meals she made while you were cold in your words. It was in the forgiveness she offered without receiving an apology. It was in the nights she waited, the mornings she prayed, and the years she believed in a version of you that you stopped trying to be. She was loyal to a fault, and not because she was weak, but because she saw value in something others would have thrown away. She believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. She carried burdens that weren't hers. She made sacrifices no one noticed. And even when it broke her spirit, she kept loving. But love is not supposed to break you. It is not supposed to strip you of your worth, of your peace, of your voice. She stayed longer than she should have. She stayed because she believed love was about holding on. She stayed until her heart could no longer speak without trembling, until her dreams no longer included you, until her tears were no longer soft but silent, until the home she built with her heart turned into a battlefield of blame and loneliness. And what did you do? You mistook her silence for peace. You mistook her forgiveness for permission. You mistook her presence for permanence. You thought she would never leave because she always stayed. But love is not infinite when it's not returned. Even the sun sets, even rivers run dry, even the strongest hearts grow weary. Now you wonder where she went. You wonder why her eyes no longer light up when you speak, why her words no longer shake with emotion. But it's not because she stopped loving you. It's because loving you started to hurt her, and she chose herself. She didn't walk away because she stopped caring. She walked away because she had to survive, to find her voice again, to rediscover the beauty of her soul beyond the shadows of your neglect. So if you're watching this and you've had a woman love you like that, honestly, deeply, painfully, don't wait until it's too late to open your eyes. Don't let her strength to leave be the only thing that wakes you up. Because once she's healed, she won't come back. She stayed long after the love had turned into ache. Not because she didn't feel the pain, but because her heart had grown so deeply rooted in you that even the storm couldn't shake her faith. She believed love was more than feelings. It was sacrifice, commitment, patience. And so she kept giving, even when it hurt. Day after day, she chose you. She chose you through the disappointments, through the silence, through the cold shoulder and the absence of appreciation. She made excuses for your distance, told herself you were just tired, stressed, or unaware. But deep down, a quiet war waged inside her. A part of her was dying every time she gave without receiving, spoke without being heard, loved without being seen. Her love wasn't loud. It was consistent. You didn't see her heartbreak because she didn't show it. You didn't hear her thoughts because she buried them to keep peace. She cried in secret so you wouldn't feel guilt. She held herself together, not because she was unbreakable, but because she didn't want to burden you with the weight of her emotions. And the more she loved, the less of herself she kept. She gave pieces of her spirit to a man who mistook her endurance for comfort, her devotion for obligation, her silence for satisfaction. You thought she was fine. You thought that if she wasn't yelling or walking away, everything must be okay. But that's the mistake so many make. They wait until the woman is gone to realize how much of her they lost long before her body ever walked out the door. She was slipping through your fingers while she stood right in front of you. Her eyes lost their shine. Her laughter became rare. Her words became measured. And you didn't notice. Or maybe you did, and you just thought she'd stay anyway. Because she always had. But love has a limit when it's not nurtured. Even the softest heart will grow tired when it's constantly wounded. Even the most loyal woman will leave when she realizes that her love is no longer her salvation, but her suffering. The same hands that once held your face with tenderness now tremble with the weight of goodbye. The same voice that once whispered dreams now trembles to speak truth. She gave you everything, her energy, her prayers, her best years, and it cost her more than you'll ever understand. She didn't ask for much, just to be seen, heard, loved back. She didn't need perfection, just presence. Not gifts, just consistency. She didn't want a castle, just a home where her heart was safe. But you were careless with that gift. And one day, she woke up and realized that staying was no longer love. It was self-betrayal. So she stood, after all the nights she wept, and she walked, not because she stopped loving you, but because loving you had started to hurt her more than leaving ever could. She stayed when every part of her wanted to run. She stayed through the chaos, through the emotional drought, through the days when her reflection in the mirror no longer looked familiar, because love had drained her of her identity. She wasn't just your partner. She was your anchor, your peace, your unwavering shelter. She held on not because it was easy, but because her heart was tied to the hope that you would finally see what she was worth. She hoped that maybe, just maybe, you would recognize the love she was pouring out in silence. The kind of love that doesn't come around twice. But love without respect turns toxic. Love without appreciation turns cold. She tried to explain in 1,000 ways, not with angry words, but with tired eyes, with hesitant hands, with the way she started sleeping further away. She wasn't loud in her pain, she was quiet, reserved, still. Because the strongest women don't always scream when they're hurting. They retreat. They go inward, question themselves, doubt their worth, and wonder how someone they gave everything to could make them feel so invisible. That was her reality. She questioned her body, her smile, her laugh, her value, all because your neglect made her feel replaceable. You didn't realize how much of her spirit you chipped away each time you dismissed her feelings. How your indifference built a wall she couldn't climb anymore. And the irony? She still rooted for you. Even when she was breaking, she defended you to herself. She told herself you didn't mean to hurt her, that maybe you didn't know better. That love was about patience. But love should never be about enduring torment. And slowly, she stopped sharing her dreams. She stopped bringing you her joy. She stopped asking for your time, your touch, your voice. Because she knew those things were no longer hers to have. She waited for a sign. A moment where you'd reach for her hand. A night when you'd look at her the way you used to. But it never came. And when she finally stopped waiting, something in her shifted. She realized she was no longer fighting for love. She was fighting to be seen. She deserved more than that. She deserved to be the woman someone prayed for, not tolerated. And that's when she knew she had to let go. Not because she wanted to, but because staying meant losing herself completely. She loved you until it hurt her. Until every part of her screamed for peace. Until her heart, once so full of you, became a place of silent grief. There comes a moment when love no longer feels like home, but like a battlefield. She never expected love to be perfect, but she did hope it would be safe. In the beginning, she gave her heart with no conditions, no walls, no reservations. She trusted you not because you earned it instantly, but because she chose to believe in who you were at your core. And every time you fell short, she gave you grace. She forgave things she cried over. She made excuses to her friends. She silenced her own needs just to keep the peace. But pain repeated becomes a pattern, and that pattern became her life. she waited for things to change. She waited through empty promises and postponed dreams. She waited for the warmth to return, for your voice to soften, for the way you used to look at her to come back. But instead, she was met with distance, with coldness, with emotional walls that she didn't build, but was forced to climb again and again. And every time she tried to connect, to love harder, to hold tighter, she felt more alone. She gave more of herself than she had to give. And each time she tried to reach her heart, hers broke a little more. The truth is, she didn't leave all at once. Long before her feet walked out the door, her heart had already begun to close. Not out of hatred, not even out of anger, but out of exhaustion. It's a special kind of sorrow when love becomes something you have to survive. When the man she loved became the source of her deepest sadness. And that turning point didn't come with a fight. It came quietly. It came on a morning when she realized she no longer felt hope when she looked at you. It came in the silence after another night of feeling invisible. It came when she finally understood that no amount of loving you could make you love her the way she deserved. It was never about grand gestures. It was about presence, about effort, about being seen, heard, and chosen, not once, but every day. And when those things disappeared, she still stayed. But love, no matter how deep, can't survive without water. It can't bloom in drought. And no matter how strong she was not immune to emotional starvation. So she closed her heart, not out of cruelty, but for survival. She turned away not to punish you, but to protect herself. Because love should build, not break. It should lift, not drain. And when a woman finally reaches the point where she has to choose between loving you and saving herself, that's when you've already lost her. She didn't stop loving you, but she couldn't keep losing herself to prove it. Men often realize too late the worth of a woman who loved them deeply, purely, and relentlessly. While she was giving her all, they were blind to the sacrifice. While she was holding on, they were drifting. And when she finally let go, they suddenly remembered all the things she did that no one else ever would. But by then, the damage had already been done. She had already cried those quiet tears, endured the silent suffering, and patched the wounds he never even noticed he caused. The saddest truth is that most men don't see her value until she's no longer theirs. Not because she stopped being valuable, but because her absence reveals what they took for granted. He didn't notice when she started shrinking herself to avoid conflict. He didn't notice how often she swallowed her opinions just to keep peace. He didn't see the fatigue in her eyes after another long day of feeling unappreciated. He thought her patience was infinite, her loyalty unconditional. But love is not meant to be a one-sided weight. She wasn't created to carry both her emotions and his neglect. Yet she did it anyway, hoping one day he'd see her, not as a convenience, not as background noise, but as the rare gift she truly was. And the truth is, she didn't need grand declarations. She didn't need diamonds or luxury or the world. At her feet, all she needed was effort. Real, intentional effort. The kind that says, I see you, I hear you, you matter to me. She needed him to meet her halfway, not make her walk the entire emotional distance alone. But he waited. He assumed. He believed she'd always be there until the day she wasn't. And when he looked up and realized she was gone, it wasn't her footsteps he missed. It was her spirit, her laughter, her light, her loyalty. The way she fought for him, even when he gave her no reason to. That's when it hits hardest. When you hear her voice in the silence. When her absence becomes louder than her presence ever was. When the things she did quietly every day, the texts, the support, the warmth, the way she believed in you, are no longer there to comfort you. And the regret? It doesn't come in waves. It comes like a flood. Because now you want back what your neglect pushed away. You want the very woman you made feel unwanted. You want to rebuild the very love you let fall apart. But some lessons only come after the loss. And she was the lesson you didn't think you'd have to learn. So now you sit with the echo of her name in the spaces she used to fill, wishing you had seen her before she left, wishing you had loved her while she still believed, wishing you had made her feel like home before she became a stranger. But love doesn't wait forever. And the woman who once stayed through everything finally chose to stay away, not because she stopped loving you, but because she started loving herself more. She silenced her voice to protect your peace. Again and again, she bit her tongue, held back the truth, and wore a smile even when her heart was aching. Not because she was weak, not because she didn't know how to speak up, but because she believed that love was about protecting, not provoking. She swallowed her pain like medicine, believing that if she just stayed calm, if she stayed kind, if she stayed loyal, maybe things would get better. Maybe you would notice. Maybe you would change. But you didn't, because every time she buried her emotions, it made it easier for you to pretend nothing was wrong. You didn't hear the words she never said. The countless "I'm fine" moments that were anything but. The "it's okay" responses that cost her more than you knew. She minimized her needs so yours could shine. She made herself smaller so your pride could feel bigger. And the saddest part is, she wasn't trying to win an argument. She was trying to keep the relationship alive. She kept the peace, not because there was peace, but because she was afraid that if she told you how she really felt, she'd lose you. So instead, she lost herself. Slowly, quietly, without a fight, but not without pain. What she needed wasn't perfection. She didn't need you to be a mind reader, or a hero, or someone who had all the right words. She just needed to feel safe, to express herself without being shut down, safe to cry without being called too sensitive, safe to need you without being made to feel like a burden. But instead of safety, she got silence, cold shoulders, dismissive glances. And every time you told her to relax or stop overthinking, a part of her closed off. Until one day, there was nothing left to close. You see, when a woman goes quiet, it's not peace. It's a warning. It's the sound of someone who's run out of words, out of energy, out of hope. She wasn't asking for much, just connection, just honesty, just the chance to be heard without being judged. But you didn't listen. Or maybe you did, but you didn't think she'd ever leave. You thought she'd always be there, always be the understanding one, until she wasn't. Because even the softest hearts have limits. Even the most patient souls get tired. And the more she silenced her pain for you, the louder it became inside of her. Until it was no longer something she could carry quietly. Until it was no longer something she could live with. So she left, not with rage, not with vengeance, but with quiet resolve. The same silence she used to protect your peace became the silence that saved her own. She didn't leave because she wanted to. She left because staying had become too heavy for her heart to carry. You see, when a woman walks away, especially one who gave all of herself, it's never sudden. It's not impulsive. It's a decision that comes after 100 nights of holding back tears, after thousands of moments where she questioned her worth, after too many times where her presence was taken for granted. She doesn't slam the door. She closes it gently, because despite everything, she still respects the love she once gave. But make no mistake, her walking away is not a sign of weakness. It is her final act of strength. For so long, she tolerated the cold replies, the dismissive looks, the absence of warmth that once made her feel alive. She waited for your words to match your actions. She waited for you to notice that her light was dimming, that her laughter was fading, that her silence was no longer peaceful but pained. And when it didn't come, when your effort never showed, She realized that she could no longer afford to sacrifice herself for a love that was slowly killing her spirit. It was then that she chose herself, not in arrogance, but in necessity. You may have seen her softness as a guarantee. You may have thought that no matter how far you drifted, she would always be there to pull you back. But she was not a lifeline. She was a woman who loved deeply and gave fully, and she deserved more than emotional crumbs. And though she loved you more than she loved herself for a time, she came to see that real love doesn't demand self-abandonment. She knew that staying wasn't strength anymore. It was surrendering to a version of life where she was invisible, unheard, unchosen. And so she walked, with trembling hands, with a heavy heart, with memories weighing down every step. But she walked, not because she hated you, but because she could no longer keep betraying herself. Her leaving wasn't to teach you a lesson, but to remember her own, that her heart was never meant to be an afterthought, that her love was a gift, not a given, that she deserved the same effort she gave so freely. So if you're wondering why she left, it's simple. She loved you until it hurt her, and then she chose to love herself instead. And so, if you ever find yourself standing in the quiet aftermath of her absence, remember this: she didn't leave because she stopped loving you. She left because loving you was costing her the parts of herself she could no longer afford to lose. She gave you chances wrapped in silence, grace hidden in tears, and loyalty that withstood the weight of neglect. But even the strongest hearts have limits. She loved you with everything she had until it started breaking her instead of building her. And when that love turned into pain, she did the bravest thing she could do: she walked away. This isn't just a story about heartbreak. It's a wake-up call, a reminder to all who are loved: never take for granted the quiet strength of someone who chooses you every day. Because when that kind of love walks away, it doesn't come back. So if she loved you until it hurt her, know that she didn't lose, you did. Thank you for watching. May this message not only touch your heart, but open your eyes before it's too late.